So this week's vlog, I wanted to talk about how judgmental we are as a whole. We judge people on the way they look, the way they act, the way they dress, the way they talk, the way they work. I mean, it's constant. And I think we all do it. I'm no different than the rest. However, having a special needs family has taught me some tolerance and understanding that I think a lot of people don't have. And frankly, I wish that they did. When you're out in public and you see a child misbehaving, we jump to a few conclusions. The child's a brat, or the parent is a bad parent. And certainly there are many instances where that is the case. I'm not going to try and tell you that there are no bad parents and there are no bratty kids, because let's face it, there are, and there are lots of them. However, rather than make the assumption and the judgment that a parent is a bad parent or a child is a naughty child, I implore you to have just a little tolerance and just a little understanding. There are so many battles going on behind closed doors that we don't know about, and just by understanding that maybe people are going through a rough time, no matter what that rough time is, would make this world a better place. But rather than that, most of us would rather just place judgment. Oh, he's a bad dad, or she's a bad mom, or that kid's a brat. Somebody needs to spank him or put him in timeout. When we all know that that isn't always the case. For instance, we as a family, which is my husband, myself, and our 3 special needs kids, went to the movies a couple weeks ago and watched a movie, and it was The Muppets. It was during the morning on a weekend. It was a very appropriate movie and a very appropriate time for children to be at. Throughout the movie, there was a little boy that ran up and down the aisles, all the way around the movie theater. And I guess I'm so used to things being outside the box that I thought it was just noise in the hallway. I never even gave it a second thought. After the movie, my husband said something about, "Did you hear that little boy?" And I said, "What little boy?" And he said, "You know, the one running around the movie theater." And it hit me that the noise that I had heard, that I assumed was in the hallway, was this little boy running around the movie theater. Now, people in the theater could have thrown a fit. They could have screamed and yelled. They could have been snotty or mean. Nobody said anything. Which to me is a relief, because that could have been my kid. You know, that kid could have been watching that movie just as intently as the rest of us. But sitting still could have physically been impossible or painful. There are disabilities that make this happen. Maybe that little boy lives in a crappy neighborhood and he cannot play outside, and that's the only place that was safe for him to run. It doesn't matter. There could be 100 reasons that that little child ran around the movie theater. The point is, it isn't our place to judge. It's not our place to judge the parent or the child. But just a little tolerance and a little understanding would make this world a better place. Maybe that parent doesn't know any better. Maybe they didn't have a good role model and they don't know how to parent. There is no parenting handbook. We don't get one issued at the hospital when we give birth. You have to learn things on your own. Maybe that's a parent who didn't have that role model and doesn't know how to learn to be a better parent. Maybe it's a parent who gets their child every other weekend, and rather than being the bad parent, they want their child to be happy. There's 100 reasons why people make the choices that they make. And sadly, we learn more about people's character by their judgments than we do by the actions that they pretend to have. You can choose to say 100 different things, but the way that you react in those situations tells a lot about your character. So I implore you, when you're out and about and you're frustrated by the loud kid on the airplane or the bratty kid in the store, just try to have a little tolerance and a little understanding. I'm not saying that's not a bad parent or that that's not a naughty child, but I am saying that I've been in those situations, and there are times when people assume I'm a bad parent or my children are naughty, and that's not the case. You know, when we have behavior struggles due to overstimulation and I'm sitting on the floor in the store with my child trying to calm him down, people make some snap judgments about spanking and punishment. That's not going to fix a disability issue. I can spank and punish all I want, but it's not going to change who my child is. It's not teaching them anything. We have to replace those behaviors with what we expect. We have to teach them how to handle those situations. Spanking and timeout's not going to teach them anything. Neither is your judgment. What your judgment is going to do, it's going to isolate more and more parents of special needs kids. It's going to make them want to not take their children out, which means they're not going to learn how to behave in society, which means when they're adults, they're going to be somebody else's problem, and they're not going to be able to function in any instance. Taking children out is a necessity for them to learn how to behave. And they're children, so they're not going to know how to behave today or tomorrow. It takes weeks and months and years to learn different lessons. So just have a little tolerance. Have a little understanding. Use your heart. Stop talking and think before we do things. Not only are we isolating an entire population, but we're hurting people in the process. Many parents choose not to take their children out for this exact reason. And that's sad. It's sad and it's heartbreaking because some parents don't have the heart and the guts and the emotional stamina to battle the disabilities and all that that entails, along with the judgments of the people who have no clue. So, I say things. I'm an advocate. I'm very vocal. If I believe something with my heart, I'm going to say it. And the message that I always am sharing with people is tolerance and understanding. And recently that got me called closed-minded and selfish. And if I'm closed-minded and selfish and the mentality to judge and point fingers and ridicule people from the outside who have no idea is what's considered normal and expected, then I'll take closed-minded and selfish any day, because our actions speak volumes. The things that you do when nobody's looking speak volumes. And I know that people judging and pointing and ridiculing and complaining on the outside are equally as negative when people are not watching. You can't say that about me. You can't say that what I put off on the exterior is any different than what I do behind closed doors and when nobody's watching. I will forever advocate for people who are different. I will forever stand up with 100% of my being with the things that I care about. I would never hurt anybody intentionally, but if I hurt your feelings because I like to be vocal about things that matter, then I'm sorry. So with this vlog, just close your mouths and open your eyes and try to understand that people are fighting battles. Everybody fights battles that we don't know about. Everybody. Think about the hardest times that you've had and how you snap at people in public and you don't mean it. Think about those times. Just think that the person that you're so frustrated with, there's a battle going on that you don't know about. And try to understand that. If you can try to be a little more understanding, a little more tolerant, this world will be a better place.